My mother-in-law never missed a chance to mock my tastes, always deeming me plain and cheap in her eyes, as she's accustomed to the finer things. She'd often jest that a woman like me, who prefers practicality over luxury, wasn't deserving of her son's hand in marriage. Then came the day when her disdain for my wardrobe reached a new low. While wearing one of my modest dresses, she deliberately spilled wine on it, adding insult to injury. But karma has a way of revealing truths. When confronted with her own hypocrisy, my mother-in-law, who had been so quick to label me cheap, was left speechless. My name is Isabel, a 28-year-old housewife, happily married to James for 2 years. Though our family is yet to expand, we relish in the simple joys of our carefree life together. Life with my gentle husband flows smoothly, and we're contemplating expanding our family soon. Yet, amidst this bliss, my relationship with my mother-in-law, Kate, remains strained. From the moment we wed, her criticism has loomed large, and even after 2 years, our bond remains fragile. I've made efforts to bridge the gap, but her reluctance is palpable. When my son decided to marry, I pondered what sort of woman he'd choose. She's rather plain, isn't she? Not much charm to speak of. Maybe I left a sour impression on my mother-in-law from the outset. Those were her initial words to me. Perhaps she was subtly implying that I didn't meet her standards as her son's spouse. My parents lead ordinary lives, my father toiling in an office, my mother dedicated to nursing. But to my mother-in-law, my humble background seemed incongruous. "Your mother has to work as well. It sounds like you had it rough," she remarked, her eyes filled with pity upon learning about my family. My mother-in-law, a lifelong homemaker, chuckled, claiming she'd never encountered such struggles. She boasted of her privileged upbringing in a wealthy household. "Since childhood, I've been accustomed to finer possessions than those around me. I never settle for anything less than the best. That's how I raised my son," she declared. I found myself at a loss for words in her presence, so I often masked my discomfort with a forced smile. It's undeniable that my taste leans towards simplicity, a stark contrast to my mother-in-law's penchant for glamour. She's perpetually adorned in lavish designer attire, accessories, and makeup. You have no eye for quality, do you? It's always about the budget, isn't it? What made my son pick her? I made sure he knew better. Her boasts inevitably sag into belittling remarks aimed at me. Ever since my husband and I tied the knot, my interactions with my mother-in-law have remained consistently strained. Yet, even amidst her occasional barbs, I've learned to brush them off with ease. Thankfully, both my father-in-law and husband extend warmth and kindness towards me, alleviating any need for concern on my part. And amidst this familial dynamic, there's another figure who's always greeted me with open arms. That person is my grandmother-in-law, my husband's grandmother via his father's side. Despite being well into her 80s, she's remarkably spry and hale. My in-laws own 2 luxurious houses aboard a grand yacht, with each residence occupied by different generations. The sight of these splendid mansions left me in awe upon my first visit. We got a good deal on the land, and the carpenter didn't charge us much. My father-in-law explained casually. "It's not as grand as you think," chuckled my grandmother-in-law, downplaying the extravagance. While my mother-in-law often boasts about her home and accomplishments, it's clear that much of it is owed to the hard work and success of my grandparents-in-law. Despite this, my grandmother-in-law remains humble and approachable, showing warmth and kindness towards me. Despite my mother-in-law's occasional irritations, I found solace in my relationship with my grandmother-in-law. It's like having another granddaughter around. After all, there aren't any girls in our family, she remarked fondly, endearing herself to me. While I longed for harmony among us 3 women, reality didn't align with my hopes. Nevertheless, I cherished my bond with my grandmother-in-law. Though I didn't engage much with my mother-in-law, I found joy in spending time with my grandmother-in-law, whether it was sharing meals or enjoying tea outings together. One day, I received a call from my mother-in-law. "It's my birthday next month, and I've decided to host it at our place this year. I'd love for you to join the celebration with my son," she said, extending an invitation to her birthday bash. I readily accepted, promising to attend. "Let me fill you in. We're throwing a grand party this year to mark my 60th birthday. We'll have all our relatives and friends over, she continued. She then added, I'd appreciate it if you dressed appropriately. While my son will be fine, I hope you won't stick to your usual attire. It would be rather embarrassing for me. With that, my mother-in-law emphasized the importance of dressing suitably and promptly ended the call. My mother-in-law's idea of dressing appropriately likely involved her favored high-end designer labels. I felt perplexed as I didn't possess the wardrobe to match such standards. Upon discussing it with my husband, he reassured me, suggesting we opt for a slightly more formal attire. On the morning of my mother-in-law's birthday celebration, my husband and I headed to a department store to select a gift for her. My mother-in-law, with her penchant for luxury, would surely appreciate a lavish gift. Luckily, she wouldn't mind if I credited my husband for the choice, making our tasks simpler. After selecting the presents, we enjoyed a leisurely lunch before preparing to head to my in-laws. As we were about to leave, my grandmother-in-law called my phone. Come over to my place now, she urged. I explained that I was currently out but would head home shortly to change before making my way to my mother-in-law's party. Just come over as you are, my grandmother-in-law insisted over the phone, assuring me that there was no need to change my clothes and urging me to hurry. Curiosity piqued, I decided to make my way to her house to see what was going on. I asked my husband to head home and change while I went to visit my grandmother-in-law, promising to meet him at my in-laws later. Arriving at her doorstep, my grandmother-in-law greeted me with a hearty laugh, beckoning me inside. Amidst her laughter, she shared details about my mother-in-law's upcoming party. It seems like quite the affair. Deliveries have been arriving at their house since this morning, she remarked. From my grandmother-in-law's place, I had a clear view of my in-laws' residence, where vendors had been bustling in and out since early morning. I caught wind that a grand floral arrangement had just been delivered, igniting my mother-in-law's excitement. My daughter-in-law sure knows how to make a statement, my grandmother-in-law remarked proudly, leading me into the cozy sitting room at the rear of the house. Lining the room were several elegant Polina trunks. With a flourish, my grandmother-in-law unlocked one and retrieved something from within. Isabel, dear, you were told to dress up today, weren't you? Here, take my dress. This way, she won't have anything to fuss about. My grandmother-in-law beamed, presenting a stunning dress before me. It was evident that the garment held a special place in her heart, meticulously cared for and exquisitely beautiful. It's a gem, really. I hardly wear it nowadays. It's a shame for it to gather dust. I thought it would be a perfect fit for you, Isabel, she continued, retrieving matching accessories from the chest with a sense of generosity and warmth. My grandmother-in-law seemed to pick up on my mother-in-law's implications, suggesting that I adorn myself in something grand to deflect any criticism. Though I lacked knowledge about dresses, the way my grandmother-in-law spoke hinted at its extravagance. When she offered it to me, I was taken aback. I can't possibly accept such a lavish gift. I'm truly sorry, I replied, hesitantly declining the dress. It's all right, dear, it's all right. I trust to cherish it as much as I have. That's why I want you to have it, she reassured me with a gentle smile, gently urging the dress into my hands. With her skilled hands, my grandmother-in-law swiftly dressed me, transforming me into a vision of elegance. I haven't worn a dress since my 21st birthday, she chuckled, reminiscing. Isn't it a splendid occasion to dust off our fineries for such a fancy party? As we chatted about the upcoming party, I was oblivious to the fact that the dressing process had concluded. Suddenly, a visitor arrived at my grandmother-in-law's. I've arranged for this lovely lady to take care of your hair and makeup. You're in good hands, my grandmother-in-law declared, going the extra mile to call in a professional hairdresser for the occasion. My dear granddaughter, I've always looked after you. It's only right I make sure you look your best, she expressed, her affection evident. Thanks to her efforts, I was adorned in glamour from head to toe, with her assurance that my mother-in-law would be impressed. Just as I finished my preparations, my husband called to say he had reached my parents' home. Expressing gratitude to my grandmother-in-law, I prepared to leave. I'll join you shortly after changing, she bid me farewell, her kindness following me as I departed. My husband's eyes widened in surprise at my stunning attire as we entered my parents-in-law's home together. The hall was abuzz with my mother-in-law's relatives, the party already in full swing. Radiant in a bright red dress, My mother-in-law presided over the festivities with a joyful smile. "Happy birthday, mother-in-law." I greeted her warmly, presenting the gift I had carefully chosen. She scrutinized me from head to toe before leading me away from the crowd and into the kitchen. "What on earth are you wearing? I explicitly told you to dress appropriately." My mother-in-law chastised me, her tone sharper than usual, perhaps fueled by alcohol. With a sudden motion, she sloshed the contents of her wine glass onto my dress, the stain spreading quickly. "You brought this upon yourself by forcing that dress on," my mother-in-law continued, disregarding my distress and the ruined state of my attire. Her words dripped with disdain as she criticized my taste and disparaged those from less affluent backgrounds. She insisted I leave, deeming my outfit unfit for the occasion. "This belongs to your mother," I managed to utter, my shock palpable. I felt a wave of sadness wash over me, realizing that all the efforts my grandmother-in-law had put into preparing me for the event had been destroyed in an instant. "What about my mother? What nonsense are you spouting? In any case, I don't want you here today. Just leave my son and go home." My mother-in-law, oblivious to the situation, urged me to depart hastily. Just then, I heard my grandmother-in-law's voice from behind me. "What's cheap? Are you referring to my dress?" I turned to find my grandmother-in-law by my side, her concern evident as tears welled in my eyes. "Oh dear, this is dreadful," she lamented, examining the stain on my dress. Overwhelmed with remorse, all I could manage was a silent apology, bowing my head in shame. "It's okay," my grandmother-in-law reassured me, dabbing at the stain with a handkerchief to prevent it from spreading further. Meanwhile, my mother-in-law, now sobered and looking pale, observed the scene unfold. "If you attend to it like this, the stain won't worsen. I'll fetch some stain remover to tackle the rest," my grandmother-in-law explained, her gaze warm and comforting as she turned to my mother-in-law. "As for the cheap dress, which one are you referring to?" "This particular one was custom-made long ago, worth several $1,000s. The fabric and craftsmanship are top-notch, just as you prefer," she added, earning an eye roll from my mother-in-law at the mention of the price. I, too, was taken aback by the revelation of its value, despite knowing it was of high quality. My grandmother-in-law's explanation of the dress's worth to my mother-in-law dripped with sarcasm. My mother-in-law, visibly more distressed than myself, struggled to find words in response. "I'm sorry, I didn't realize it was that valuable," she muttered, her attempt at an apology feeble. My grandmother-in-law's frustration towards my mother-in-law only grew. How can someone so oblivious to value dare to mock others? You who prance around with flashy labels and expensive items have no concept of true worth, do you? You're utterly disgraceful, embarrassing me." My grandmother-in-law's words, now sober and resolute, left my mother-in-law speechless, unable to offer a rebuttal, her gaze fixed downward. People with discernment understand. You who only possess inexpensive dresses fail to grasp. My grandmother-in-law's sarcasm towards my mother-in-law was palpable. She echoed the very criticisms my mother-in-law had once directed at me. It was clear my mother-in-law felt the sting of embarrassment as her face flushed crimson. Unable to offer a retort, my mother-in-law remained silent, her lips tightly pressed together. Seeing her distress, my grandmother-in-law shifted her attention to lecturing her about her treatment of me. "How could you belittle a daughter-in-law from another family?" she chided. My heart went out to my mother-in-law, who appeared on the verge of tears, listening to the rebuke in silence. "Let's call it a day. Isabel and I won't be staying any longer. Enjoy the rest of the party." My grandmother-in-law concluded her lecture towards my mother-in-law, signaling an end to the confrontation. Her once vibrant red dress, chosen with such anticipation for the celebration, now seemed out of place amidst the tension. "Wait here. I'll fetch some alternative attire for you from home." I excused myself to change into my own clothes, provided by my thoughtful grandmother-in-law. My husband accompanied me back to her house. Upon hearing the tale from my grandmother-in-law, my husband's ire was palpable. With the support of my grandparents-in-law, my husband, and myself, we departed my parents-in-law's residence and enjoyed a pleasant dinner with just the four of us, free from the worry of my mother-in-law's disapproval. Following the incident, both my husband and grandmother-in-law, furious with my mother-in-law's behavior, delivered another round of stern reprimands. They made it clear she was to steer clear of me and impose limits on her spending. It appeared my grandmother-in-law's words about the importance of humility had struck a chord. My mother-in-law's complexion paled, rendering her unrateable. Furthermore, my grandmother-in-law made a pointed declaration, vowing to bestow upon me all her dresses, jewelry, and prized possessions. She remarked sarcastically to my mother-in-law that it made little sense to entrust such items to someone lacking appreciation for their worth. Though I had refrained from commenting previously, it became evident that my grandmother-in-law harbored disapproval towards my mother-in-law's penchant for luxury. Later, with a mischievous grin, my grandmother-in-law revealed to me the dress stained with wine. It returned to me spotless. This revelation filled me with immense relief and gratitude. While I may still be learning about the finer aspects of quality, I have gleaned invaluable lessons from my grandmother-in-law, who embraced and accepted me wholeheartedly.